This one could be absolutely crazy. Chelsea are rumoured to be interested in Kvara. Kvaradonna. Kvaratskhelia. Napoli's unbelievable forward. Could potentially be on his way to the Premier League this January. Look, Ornstein has just come out this evening saying that a number of Premier League teams have their eye on Kvara if he's to leave Napoli this January. The fee isn't even that unbelievable. We're going to get into it. We're going to have a look at who he is as a player. I'm sure most of you saw him absolutely ripping up the Euros for Georgia. He's a fantastic player, fantastic, talented, unbelievable player. You don't get that nickname unless you're something quite special. For me, this is a must for Chelsea. I think with everything that's happened to Chelsea this season in terms of where we're at, the lack of replacements we've got potentially in our squad, this is the type of player that then pushes Chelsea to another level. Let's get into it. If you haven't already, smash a like. If we get 40 likes on this video, hopefully Kvara ends up in a Chelsea shirt by the end of January. We'll cover everything else transfer related as well in this one. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. But look, let's get into this. So I'm going to load up the tweet straight away. This is the current 7:15 announcement from David Ornstein this evening. This is it, right? Liverpool could consider move to sign Kvaratskhelia if he leaves Napoli in January. LFC not actively seeking a winger, but admire the 23-year-old. Alert to situation and may contend if becomes market opportunity, right? PSG and Chelsea also among interested clubs. That's unbelievable. This is huge news, however you dress it up. The fact that he could be on his way out of Napoli anyway would be unbelievable. I'm hearing the fee is rumoured to be about 67 million, which for a player of this quality would be pretty cheap. We spoke literally the other day about Nico Williams, about players like Anthony Gordon and Buemo. They're all probably costing more than him, and I genuinely think he's in the same sort of bracket of conversation. A fantastically gifted, talented player. A player that, if you haven't seen already, with the ball at his feet, can do special things. He's definitely a dribbler. He's a runner. And I can just picture that in a Maresca system, out wide on the left-hand side, he would be a fantastic addition. Now, let's talk about why this could be a good signing for Chelsea. And I think, number one, we have to look at our current squad. Our current squad, at the start of the season, I would have said to you that we're pretty covered in wide areas. But I think we've seen that Mudryk, obviously, that future is now uncertain, which is a shame. And I think ultimately that leaves Chelsea short on the left-sided winger position. And I think that's where this becomes a real opportunity for Chelsea. I think his age suggests that he could be a fantastic addition to Chelsea's team. He's a similar sort of age. He's 23, fits in with the age group. His current wages, I mean, they're rumoured to be between £40,000 and £50,000 a week, which means Chelsea could definitely do something there with the wages if there's to be a wage bracket in place that we've heard rumoured about a number of Chelsea signings. I'm actually sure we could do something here. My worry with this deal is Chelsea's current relationship with Napoli. I don't think Lukaku's transfer was that comfortable, and I also think the Osman one in the summer was very, very tricky. I'm not sure whether Chelsea want to go back into ADL and open up a whole other can of worms, but the talent of this player, it might be worth it. And the thing with him is, if Chelsea do sign him, there is still a market value on the player on the other side of a pretty long contract. You know, if he signs on a 5-year deal, that would be him being 28, 29. There's still a sell-on value there if he has a decent career. And if not, I still think that he's the type of player that would hold value because of his age. You'd be signing at a very young age. He's already achieved a bit at Napoli at the age that he's at. We saw him strike up a fantastic partnership with Osman. I mean, you can only imagine if Chelsea went out and got the deal done for both of those players. It'd be fantastic additions to Chelsea's squad. But in isolation, with Mudryk potentially having an uncertain future, I think this opens the door for this kind of move. I think we've seen that Madueke, Neto are pretty much the right-hand side. Sancho's there on his own on the left-hand side now. Obviously, Neto can rotate, but I think we're seeing more and more Maresca liking the fact that Neto on that right-hand side looks like a real option, a real threat. And I think we've seen his work rate and his defensive capabilities now as well, something that pleases Maresca. I think Kvara adds something really, really good. He's definitely quicker than Sancho. He's slightly a different profile to him. But what I think is important to note here is that, for me, Kvara would be head and shoulders above most of Chelsea's players in those wide areas when it comes to attacking output. Now, this season, it's actually comparable, but I think when we look back at previous seasons, we can really see that he has absolutely been at a level that is probably above where most of Chelsea's wingers have been at in their career. I think he'd be a fantastic addition. Let's look at what he's achieved this season. I'm going to bring it up right here, but as you can see, he's 23 years old. He's bow-footed. I mean, he is very, very confident when it comes to his dribbling. I have to say that's probably his biggest asset, is he's a real strong runner with the ball. And I have to say, that's something that Chelsea do have in abundance with players like Sancho, with Pedro Neto. But I also think the way that Maresca's asked us to play, that's something that really suits this squad. I think creativity is definitely a strength of his as well. We've seen, like I've already mentioned, the link-up that he's had with Osimhen in a previous season at Napoli. You can see that this is a player that wants to play with exciting other players who want to link up, who want to have a bit of flair, have a bit of freedom to create on the pitch. And I think Maresca's system really does allow his wingers to do that. There's no issue for me if he's asked to play as a touchline winger. I think he could do that comfortably. I think if he's asked to be a player that cuts inside and can join up with the attack and come in towards the number 10 area, I think he's good enough to do that as well. He's very, very versatile. Let's look at his current heat map as well, just so you guys get a bit of an idea. There is 100% a player here with work rate, with determination. Just look at the heat map. You don't get this kind of red on a heat map if you're not in those areas often. And this shows to me that in and out of possession, he's a real asset to the team. He started 15 out of 17 games. He's playing roughly 70 minutes a game. He's been in the team of the week in Serie A 3 times this season. He's scored 5 goals. He's exceeding his XG. And I think if you look at the way Napoli play right now with Conte being the manager, for me, I'm not sure that is absolutely getting the best out of him. And I think that's why he's come to the point where I think he'd be open to a move. Now, we have to discuss the fact that when Ornstein broke this news, the potential is Liverpool are on the horizon here. Does that worry me as a Chelsea fan? Not particularly. I think of Caicedo, I think of Lavia, a number of players that have been linked to Liverpool have ended up choosing Chelsea. So that wouldn't worry me, but also they might get one over us. When I look at Liverpool, though, I see Diaz being an issue here. I think Diaz is kind of in the way for Kvara to be looking at guaranteed game time. Now, I know he's been playing false 9 at times, and I think there probably is a slot opening up, but I also look at it and think Gakpo's been very good for them this season. If I'm Kvara, I'm probably more confident of getting into Chelsea's 11 and competing against Sancho and the style of play that Maresca's got his wingers playing. I think that just suits him a little bit more. He's apparently a Chelsea fan growing up. There's a picture obviously going viral at the moment, doing the rounds of him in a Chelsea shirt as a kid, an absolute legendary Adidas shirt. I just look at this player and I see him fitting in at Chelsea. Look, there's a PSG link as well, but I have to say, if he goes to PSG, I'll find this incredibly underwhelming. I really would. If that was his move and he went to PSG, I would think that the French league to me right now just seems so unattractive. If 2 Premier League clubs are in for you that have been right at the top of the Premier League at points this season and fighting and contesting each other, that just seems a little bit more exciting for me than a league that currently doesn't have a TV deal and there isn't really a star player plying his trade there, and the other teams in that league are questionable at best. PSG just doesn't seem that exciting to me at the moment, and I think for Kvara, a move to the Prem would be far, far better for his career. Where Chelsea have to be careful here is where his wages are going to go. I think there's room for Chelsea to really do something here because of the starting point of his current wages. I think 45,000 to 50,000 is where we're at currently. The fact that gives Chelsea a huge amount of negotiating room to get him somewhere around where other top players in Chelsea's squad are, that could be enough. It could be that it's enough of an increase in wages to tempt him over the line. I'm well aware, though, PSG will be able to offer in wages that we can't probably contest with. And I think Liverpool would probably push the boat out a little bit more when it comes to wages as well, especially if they're going to shift off by the end of this season probably £1 million a week in wages with Trent, Salah and potentially Van Dijk all leaving. But like I said, Luis Diaz I think is key for this on Liverpool's side of things. I think they're well aware he might want to leave. There's talks again that he could go to Barcelona. I think you've kind of got to wait and see how that develops. Now, we know Barcelona can't register a player. I'm not sure, and look, it could happen by the end of the window, but I'm not sure Liverpool could do this still in Jan. I'm just not certain the evidence is there for me to see Liverpool doing this in January. I think they'd want to shift a couple of players out, and I think their front forward line is just a little bit too congested at the moment to try and get another player in here. I think it's likely Chelsea lose members of their squad this January. I think we could probably see the likes of Nkunku leaving. I think Dewsbury Hall's another player that potentially leaves. I think those are the type of players leaving that free up the finances to make this deal happen. Now, moving away from Kvara, because I think this is something Chelsea really should try and make happen, I just want to touch base on where we are with a couple of those departures, because the names are starting to stack up a little bit, and it's slightly concerning that we could let go of that many players when there's already a question mark around Maresca being able to trust a couple of players in Chelsea's squad. And I think if Nkunku leaves, for me, as well as him joining in Kvara potentially, I think that would really put pressure on Chelsea to recruit a striker this current January window. I think Liam Delap is a name that's been mentioned a lot. Do I think that's what Chelsea need? I'm not sure, but it almost seems like a perfect signing under the current ownership. And I think when you look at defensively, the shallowness we currently have in the squad, that Mark Gehi transfer, I mean, it's gone a little bit quiet in the last couple of days, but that for me is something that Chelsea have to have as an absolute baseline this window. He has to be coming in, especially with the rumours kicking up a little bit that Disasi could also be another defender that could be on his way out of Chelsea. If Chelsea were to lose Fofana for the period of time they're going to, Badiashile to an injury, and potentially Disasi as well this window, that would leave a couple of question marks for me. Look, there's question marks over a number of Chelsea's players on whether or not Maresca's a fan, whether or not he believes these players are good enough for his Chelsea side. And I just think if you let too many go in Jan, we could be leaving ourselves a little bit short for the potential run-in and battle that Chelsea will have on their hands going into the season. I also think what this means is the likelihood is that Conference League squad is going to see the additions of some of the players that were left out for the group stages added in. I think the likes of Cole Palmer and potentially Lavia will be added into that Conference League squad potentially, and any other incomings, just to make sure that if those fixtures do start to get a little bit more difficult, we're then equipped with some of our better players to handle them. I think Chelsea need numbers, and I think as well as that, we need to level up the quality. Just to finish off here, because if Maresca can turn around to his bench and believe that there's quality in those players and have the trust to bring them on to change a game, I think that puts Chelsea in a far better position. I actually believe if that was the case and he believed his squad was good enough, we probably wouldn't have lost and been in a situation where we're only one win out of the last four. And I think that would have been huge. And that may have made our season look a little bit different, and it may have allowed us to keep up and keep the pace with the likes of Liverpool and obviously Forest and Newcastle and Manchester City's revival in form, and Arsenal, who are still there or thereabouts in the Premier League. Chelsea throughout this festive period have struggled to pick up points, and I think a lot of that comes down to the manager's belief in his squad and the actual quality of our squad depth. I think we've got numbers which could definitely decline this January, but I'm not sure the belief is there in the ability. Look, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I think Kvara would be a fantastic addition to this Chelsea team. This is legitimate. I always feel that when I see a David Ornstein tweet or a Bomber or whatever it's called, I really do feel that this is coming from a place where it could actually happen. And look, Chelsea will be after additions this summer. And if Chelsea believe there's an opportunity for the player to retain value on the end of their contract, I think it makes the deal so much more likely. And the age bracket Kvara falls into, this is one that gets me excited. I really think this is a deal that Chelsea wouldn't want to let go. What I think it requires, though, is is the type of effort that was put into an Enzo Fernandez deal, the type of effort that was put into a Caicedo deal. We're probably the underdogs out of Liverpool and PSG there on attracting this player in terms of where we just currently are in the Premier League. If we get in there and we really show that we're trying to build something, and he would be absolutely key to that. I mean, could you imagine him in this Chelsea attack? I think it would be absolutely fantastic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That's my current reaction on the situation that's breaking right now this evening. I'll see you all in a bit. Make sure to drop a like if you haven't already, because this would be a fantastic addition to Chelsea Football Club.